Excellent. Yeah. So if you would want to take over the control for me here, I'll let you drive through your own slides. Alex and I were challenged a little bit during the last session. But yeah, so great to have you here. So just for the audience's benefit, Mike is our technology evangelist here at Creatio, and again, very adept at building applications, workflows, and automating them very quickly. So should be a great session with Mike. I'll turn it over to you, sir, and we'll look forward to your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. And let me start. So today I want to showcase how anyone using Creatio platform can create a workflow automation app in a matter of like 1 hour. So I'll show how to automate request management workflow, and in particular, administrative service requests. So just for you to know, like, since we needed to squeeze up like 1 hour or so of customization in 20 minutes, the session was like demo was customizations were pre-recorded. And also I want to know that if you have any questions, so please leave them in the chat window, and we will do our best to answer them during this session. So all right, so in order to create the request management app, there are just a number of steps that should be taken. For instance, like we need to create and set up object model and user interfaces. We need to enable approvals and create like a dynamic case management to structure all this process. We also will have a look at how to secure our application and call some external REST APIs to complete this application. So without further ado, let's dive in. And I want to start with the core request model. So to start with, we have decided to use like an marketplace application, which is vacation leave request, to leverage some of the core object model available from that app and some user interfaces. So as some of you know, Creatio comes with a package architecture which gives so-called like modular approach and makes it very easy to combine multiple marketplace applications, out-of-the-box features, and all customizations in a single app. So as soon as I've installed this application on the environment, we've got new request section. And in order to start with the customization, all I need to do is to create a new package inside Creatio, and then add dependency on the marketplace application to reuse and customize some of the existing things, such as, for instance, a request section and request object model. And this is something that we have started with, right? So to proceed with customizations and with object model, we used a section wizard, which is a tool which allows to create new sections and also customize all existing ones. And for instance, this is the place where we've enabled approvals. This is the place where we are building mini pages. So this is a mini page designer, which allows in a drag and drop manner really quickly to create an user interface to so-called mini page. So then it can be used later on when we are adding new requests or when we modify an existing requests. All right, and so the section, once we're done in the section wizards, we can go and also do a list setup view, change list setup, and only display the columns that we need. But essentially, we are want to build an administrative service request, right? So this means that we need to add new request type, which is essentially administrative service request, and then create new edit page for that. So this is what we are actually doing right now. By, again, in a section wizard, in a drag and drop manner, we can add all the user interface and build all the user interface at columns like requester, who requested, requester type, and description. And while we are doing this, this is actually the combination of the user interface. By behind the curtains, the object model and like database structure, all the columns, everything is handled by Creatio platform for us. And this is just invisible for user, but everything is done seamlessly for us. And Section Wizard is actually a place where a user not only can set up a user interface of our pages, but also apply some business rules, right, and create a business processes. So, for instance, now we are adding new columns to this page, like max payment date. And if we need to localize this column for different cultures, this can be easily done via our Section Wizard localization interface. Next piece is that our administrative service requests need to keep track, and we need to keep track of all expenses which were done during this request. And this can be achieved very easily just by adding a new detail directly from the Section Wizard in the same page without any, switching to any other places of the interface. Once we will hit save, all these changes will be automatically applied to the user interface, and new detail and a new layout will be applied. So when we create a new administrative service request, as you can see, there is expenses detail already placed into the system. But what we need to do is to additionally add some additional fields into this detail. For instance, since we are tracking expenses, we want to add like amount, which is going to be a decimal column, and also currency. So just to keep track of, okay, like how much was spent and in which currency in particular. And this detail wizard, it's a great and powerful tool, and it allows not only to change a page layout, but also specify whether a column should be read-only or whether it's required or not. And then you can apply on top of that a business rule to auto-populate fields or to hide particular fields on some conditions, or to auto-populate fields based on some values. And also, as you can see, while I'm doing the customization and when I hit save, system automatically checks and do all the validations, because maybe I've need to do to add some particular things that are required, because otherwise the record will not be saved. And there are two different ways how we can add records onto details, whether using editable grid or through the page. So if we want to enable and add new records through the page, that's very easy. And this approach is actually sometimes it's more better, because when we have, let's say, a multi-line text, like in this particular scenario. Okay. So let's carry on, and the next step would be to manage approvals. So we already have enabled approvals for this request section, but we still need to have some visual structure over this process. For this, we can use our dynamic case management tool, which is a great tool to be used when we and when there are different ways to achieve the goal. So in this scenario, for our request management app, we will define a few stages like draft, in progress, approval, completed, and cancel. And there might be some tasks to be completed on each and every step of this case. But in this scenario, for now, we only need to automatically send approval to a particular role to the administrative service request manager, let's say, so then when the user will approve, manager will approve this particular request or reject this particular request, the corresponding record or the corresponding request will be populated. So let's see how this works in detail. So I've created a new request for to reimburse some expenses, and once I've sent our request to approval, the approval record is automatically generated on this detail. But we still can improve this dynamic case by adding the automatic transition to another stage. So for instance, when the approval is successfully approved, we're going to move our case to the completed stage, and when it's rejected, we are going to move it to the cancel state. So let's see how this works when it's done. All right. So let's proceed. And next thing is so we've added our request management app, but we still are lacking our analytics. So starting from Creatio 7.18, we can easily use our great no-code wizard to create our homepage designer. So home pages actually, and for instance, to define various dashboards like pie chart to keep track of a number of requests by different types, or a chart of to display information on number of requests in particular stages. Or we also can create a new indicator which will show the number of requests which are pending processing. So then our users will see like the helicopter view over how our request management process is working as a whole. And so once we hit save in this no-code designer, we're gonna see the result. And this homepage will be applied to the our existing request workplace. All right. And another step that we can apply to make our application even more powerful is to actually create a machine learning model. And to do so, what we need to do first is create a machine learning model to predict our approver column. And so what we need to do is create a model, specify some inputs. So in this scenario, it is the amount of all expenses and type, which will be considered as an input for our predictions. And once this model is created, we need to proceed with and train this model. And then we can use it in a business process. So we can create a business process. And in this situation, for instance, we can create a business process which will run every time when new approval is created. Then we'll use a machine learning process element to trigger the logic, and then to save and predict approver for this particular business process. So the machine learning model is added. We have need also to specify the what gonna be like the initial trigger signal, and also we want to run this logic only in scenarios when the approver is not defined by default. Okay, so also of course in a business app we always need to make it secure, and of course we don't want anyone to approve this request. That's why we need to create a functional role, or like add some users to this functional role. So then when new case or new request is created, all users inside that functional role of administrative service request managers will be automatically notified that there is new request pending approval. And to do so, all we need to do is actually to modify our dynamic case and then specify that, all right, so for this particular dynamic case, the approver would be the administrative service request manager group. And also, the other way to secure our application, of course, is to use operations permissions record permissions and column permissions. In some particular case, this is also viable. So for our request, we do not want anyone to remove existing requests in the system. And also we want to request records only be seen by the one who created the request and also by the administrative service request manager. So no other user in the system will have a right to either read or edit or delete a record inside the system. So when it's done, the access rights will be not only applied for new records, but also redistributed for the existing records. And this is what we see on the screen, the result of this setup. Okay, let's proceed. And the next step is to make this request section available on the mobile. And to do so, we're going to use mobile application wizard. So, and we need to do just a couple of things here. First, we're going to add new, so we add existing mobile request section into mobile app, and then specify the list of columns that should be shown in the mobile applications. And when it's done, we also want to show the expenses detail, and this is something that we can do again through the mobile wizard. And once this is updated, all the request section is going to be available on the mobile app. Next, we want to build the integration with a third-party app to get the currency rate for each expense that are submitted to the request. So to do so, we can use our great no-code wizard to reach REST APIs. And all we need to do is just through the no-code wizard to specify input parameters and output parameters. And then this service integration method can be used in a business process. So in this scenario, what we want to do is to trigger a business process every time when a new expense is added, and to save this data to the our record to our expense record. And to do so, we were going to do a few things. So first, we are going to read our expense record. We're going to read our currency. We're going to read the currency code, and then we're going to pass this data to our web service request. And when we get a response, we can work with that data and, for instance, use a modified data element to update the record, or to save, or to do some particular calculations. And next, and last but not the least thing that we are doing here is to add in the Kanban view, which is will give a little bit more visibility over the whole process. So again, what we need to do, we're going to Marketplace. We are going to install this application on our environment. And once this is completed, every section in the system which has dynamic cases available, it will have the additional Kanban view, which will allow users and a team of managers to work on on a Kanban view rather than on regular section. So once this application was installed, here is the Kanban view, and if we select that for administration service request, we can, in a drag and drop manner, change the statuses and move and work with different approvals and requests. And yeah, so just to summarize, just in a matter of 1 hour, this is how anyone using Creatio platform can create a business app and in a matter of 1 hour.
Excellent.
Back to you, Ari.
Yeah, that was amazing to see. A lot of different components, a lot of different applications to kind of put together. one thing that you had showed was the ability to leverage our marketplace, and we have a question in the chat, Mike, that I thought was very interesting because I think it's important when we talk about composability. The question is this: is it possible to combine multiple marketplace solutions and reuse and customize them into a customizable app?
Yeah, great question. Definitely, it is possible because in Creatio we have so-called like a package hierarchy, and when building a package hierarchy, a user can define multiple levels in package inheritance, and there might be different packages. So one package can be dependent on many different packages. So definitely this is possible, and this actually is pretty easy, and it's a great approach to use.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, I know that we have a lot of questions in the chat, but we're doing our best to keep up with them. Mike, thank you very much for joining us today. Very good demonstration on the ease of low code and application development. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. I can see you're probably just a room down from me.